Hello, I'm Irene Kim, and today we'll be presenting our market entry plan for our Moscow Airline company. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce our team. This is Jamel, Callie, Lucas, and Parker. Just to give you an overview of what we're going to talk about today, first I'm going to touch briefly on our company overview, and then we're going to talk about market attractive assessment, followed up by Russian environment overview, competitive assessment, and our target market assessment. Then we're going to discuss market entry strategy and finalize with our marketing mix. So to introduce our company, Moscow Airline Company first began its operations in the mid-1990s, offering both scheduled and charter flight services. The city of Moscow serves as its main hub and has been the center of operations since it has first created in Russia. Our Moscow Airline Company has seen the positive track record since its introduction into its industry and is looking to prolong this trend in the future. So to begin with the market attractive assessment, I'm going to talk about the Russian environment. The standard of living of the average working Russians today is greatly improved. The disposable income for the workforce has increased by 10% annually over the past 5 years. For this, the global retailers are entering the market rapidly, and the demand for foreign travel has also greatly increased. But this is not only due to the growing levels of disposable income, but also due to the increasing numbers of suppliers and wider distribution channels across the country. So with this economic recovery, the tourism in Russia is rebounding. The number of Russian traveling abroad has increased by 38% in the last few years. The Russians travel for both leisure and business reasons. The share of the holiday trips was at 56% and business trips was at 25%. Russia is not a homogeneous market since we can see many different segments of the people, ranging from the rapidly emerging middle class to the ultra rich. The middle class take trips like once or twice a year on average, and the ultra rich take several trips a year. And to describe the Russian travelers in general, they are very adventurous. They're active and they look for new experiences. And they are easily attracted to novelty. So if a destination is marketed and differentiated as a new holiday hotspot, it is said that it will succeed in the Russian market. So for airlines in Russia, many new routes are being added by Aeroflot and Transaero, which are two Russian major airlines. The most developed domestic route is between St. Petersburg and Moscow. For recent travel trends, first, the exchange rate has been the most sensitive factor, and also the travel trends differ based on the types of destinations.
So now we're moving to the competitive assessment. In addition to ourselves, we looked at 3 other airlines: Kuban, one of the two, Nordieva, and Aeroflot. The airlines move in size from six airplanes, which Kuban has, up to 93, which is the size of Aeroflot. Kuban is based in Krasnodar, which is a small city, not small, it's about 600,000 people near the Black Sea in the south of Russia. Kuban has a fleet of new-ish 737 and Antonov 128 airliners, and they have a strong setup of international destinations for its small size, including Istanbul, Tel Aviv, and Dubai. The problem is they haven't yet fully finished their expansion plans as of yet, and they won't be finished that until the year 2014 or so, depending on whether or not everything remains on schedule. And in addition, Krasnodar, as I said, only has 650,000 people or so, which is far smaller than Moscow's 10 million people. Next, we looked at Nordieva. Nordieva was, until last year, a subsidiary of Aeroflot under the name Aeroflot Nord. And because of that, they have good name recognition. Everyone knows about them, and so that helps them, bring in new customers, obviously. Unfortunately, they have a pretty poor reputation for safety. The reason they were spun off is due to a plane crash that I believe happened in 2008, in which 86 people died, and it was a whole big scandal, and it ended with Nordea being spun off. However, they only have 2 international destinations: Helsinki, which starts next week, and a small city in Norway. Yes, but they are small and they can expand quickly. For them. Aeroflot is Russia's flag carrier and their biggest airline. As such, they have great name recognition. Everyone knows what Aeroflot is, and so that obviously helps them drive their business, their name recognition. And they're in a good cash position. They netted $300 million last year profit, so they're doing well in that matter. Unfortunately, they also have a poor reputation for safety, in which they think was tied to their poor Soviet-era airframes, which they're retiring rapidly and replacing with Western planes such as the 737, 767, and Airbus fleet. And so they are rapidly trying to move in that direction. Unfortunately, they have a really weird ownership structure. They are part owned by the government, part owned by employees, and then you can also buy shares. So that could hamper their expansion plans. Moving on to us, we have a very strong management team, as evidenced by they brought us in to help them out. They're very nimble, as they only have a few airplanes right now. They can expand in any direction they want. And they have $300 million to put into this plan of acquiring new aircraft and the new marketing plan, so that can help them out a lot. Unfortunately, it's aviation, so startup costs are really high. No matter which way you go, it's going to be expensive, and so that could be a drag. Also, just acquiring airplanes, especially if you order them from the factory, takes years. And so other people can gain a first mover advantage because we're basically ramping up when they already have planes in the sky.
So now we'll be looking into the potential target market, and Moscow Airline Company has decided to target on Moscow because of its large and growing population and its high income level. The population of Moscow is more than 10 million people, which is a large percentage of Russia as a whole. And also, Russia's income level was known in 2009 to be double the size of the average in Russia. To look at the income distribution of Moscow more closely, you can know that there are a lot more people who are assigned to a higher level than the middle class in the capital. Also, during the years of 2001 to 2006, the income level of the middle and upper middle class rose by 300%. So according to these facts, we have decided to target on the middle and upper middle class of Moscow. This is about 50% of the Moscow population. This segment is known to increase their travel these days, and unlike the really wealthy consumers in Russia, they are traveling to places that Moscow Airlines actually cater to. So now we'll be looking at the market entry strategy, and we can know that Russia is a new growth market. It has only started economic development after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and therefore the distribution channels and advertising media is still underdeveloped in rural areas. Later, Parker will talk about entering new markets. So now we'll be starting marketing mix with pricing. The pricing has to be in line with the target market and the brand image. The target market is middle and upper middle class, and the brand image, as Lucas will explain later, is luxury within reach. Therefore, we decided to make our prices affordable. These prices will be standardized among all localities because it is harder to adapt prices these days because more airplane tickets are being purchased online. Now Lucas is going to talk about brand strategy.
Okay, so in terms of our brand strategy, we want to try and convey the notion of luxury within reach, which basically means that we want to provide a superior flying experience with excellent service at competitive and affordable prices. We want to also ensure that we aim this brand strategy towards our target market, which are the middle and middle upper class. And finally, we want to employ this brand strategy in a standardized fashion to maintain low costs and target as wide of an audience as possible. So moving on to the product of Moscow Airline Company, we provide a reliable air transport service in two different sections. These two sections are first passenger, which encompasses both scheduled and private chartered flights, and is also the section that accrues the most revenue for the company. And the second section is the freight section, which allows for customers to transport goods and or produce. So the current fleet that we have is composed of 100% Russian manufactured Tupolev Tu-154 aircraft, and our company is looking to expand in the near future, as well as the fact that this Russian manufactured airline fleet is a bit outdated, has led us to try and acquire several different airplanes, including Boeing 737-800s and Boeing 767-300s. There are two different alternatives for us to acquire these airplanes, which are either directly purchasing it from Boeing or dry leasing it through a third party, which is much like leasing of an automobile. You skipped the slide thing. So basically, with our product and service, we want to target two major segments, and these two major segments are frequent business travelers, which composes about 25% of all Russian travelers, and would target destinations like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And the other major segment we want to target are leisure vacationers, which currently composes about 56% of all Russian travelers, but is a growing number. And this would encompass families, young adults, and students. So we came up with a list of possible destinations that we think would target those two segments I just mentioned before most effectively. A few examples would be Rome, Italy, which is the capital and tourism hotspot of Italy. Another destination is Almaty, Kazakhstan, which is a major city in Kazakhstan and is frequented often by business travelers. And finally, another destination would be Athens, Greece, which is the capital of Greece, another major tourism destination, and is in close proximity of Moscow, which would give an option for people who don't want to travel that far from the country itself.
Okay, so since we are a service-based company, we don't have a traditional sort of ways of exporting, such as a physical, tangible product to other countries.